Welcome to Tripod Talks with your hosts, Will and Ewan.
Hello. How are we today?
I'm fine. How are you, Ewan?
I'm very good, thank you. Okay.
Okay.
So what's the subject today, Will? Do you know?
So the subject today is inheritance tax. It's
Mhm.
really popular in the news at the moment because the government are changing it from what it was recently, what it was to what it will be soon.
Right.
So,
Yep.
so it's really popular with farmers because they might not be able to keep going because they don't have much income coming in.
So what is this
But
inheritance tax, then, Will? Can you explain what it is for people who don't know?
inheritance tax so if somebody dies, say your parents die,
Yep.
and they give you, when they die, they in the will, they give you their property. And I'm going to explain it in a bit more detail in a
Okay.
minute. But just a quick brief on it is, if it's over a certain amount, they have to pay so much interest.
Right. So
So
that's the government, is it? The
the
interest.
government has set that. Yes.
Right. So it's like a tax on the inheritance.
Yeah. So it's if your estate is above, or the value of your properties and things are above a certain price,
Then it's taxed more.
then it's taxed. But if it's less, then we'll find out. Okay, so
Okay.
are we ready?
Yes, I'm ready to get into
So,
it.
inheritance tax is a tax on your estate, the property, money, and possessions of someone who dies.
So how is that useful for farmers, then, Will? What do the farmers get out of it?
So this,
What's the
so
sound effect?
I know, I've planned that.
He's
So
found the soundboard. Everyone watch out.
farmers will be affected more in a minute. What I'm going to say in a minute.
Okay.
But farmers, when their parents die, they get given the farm, so they're
Yeah. Right.
being
Okay.
taxed on the farm property. Normally, no inheritance tax to pay if either the value of your estate is below the 325,000 threshold,
Right.
or you leave everything above the 325,000 threshold to your spouse, civil partner, or a charity or community sports club. So you could leave it to somebody, but above the threshold.
So is this the money that goes above the kind
Three-
of tax bracket?
325,000.
So they don't have
So
to give it to the government.
So
They
you
can just give it
wouldn't
to
have
the
pay any
community.
tax. Yeah, you wouldn't have to pay any inheritance tax on any properties, money, or possessions if you leave it to
To other people.
your spouse or to your civil partner.
Right. Okay. So that's interesting, because so they're getting out of paying tax by giving it to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you give away your home to your child, including adoptions, foster or step children or grandchildren, your threshold will increase to 500,000.
Right. Yeah.
So it goes up slightly. So
Slightly.
if you give
£150,000. Slightly.
if you give your home to them,
Then they have to pay quite a lot.
then the threshold that it will be under to be taxed, it goes up.
I suppose they are giving them a whole house, so
Yeah.
it's a lot of money.
Yeah, the
Government still want money
threshold
for
goes
it.
up. If you're married or in a civil partnership, your estate is worth less than your threshold, any unused threshold can be added to your partner's threshold when you die.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's like, if your threshold is, say, 50,000,
Yeah.
then you could have another times up by 100, 10 times up by 10, then that's the threshold.
So
But here's where, oh
sorry.
yeah, what were you gonna say?
So what you're saying is that if somebody is their property of value and they die and their partner is below the threshold, then they get the money. Is
Yes.
what right? Okay, I think I get that. So we're going to get onto the farmers and how
We're
like
gonna get onto the business inheritance tax, referring to businesses and agricultural assets.
right, yeah, okay,
So from April 2026, inheritance tax for businesses and agricultural assets will be capped at £1 million. With the new reduced rate of 20% being changed above that, rather than the standard inheritance tax rate of 40%. So there being the new, it's going to be reduced rate to 20%.
yep. So
Rather than the standard
is
inheritance
this if
rate.
if they're at the top of the kind of boundary, or is that anywhere below it?
So I think that it's anything below £1 million.
And it gets paid less tax now because the government.
Yes. But the tax will be payable in instruments over 10 years, interest free.
Oh, that's good.
So you can pay it over 10 years. There might be a little bit of interest, but I think it's interest free
Mostly.
mostly.
That's quite good. So that means that the amount of tax they have to pay won't increase very much or at all
Yeah.
if it's underneath the threshold. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay, that's good. So is that
Yeah.
like? Is this just for people in business, or is this for families as well, or are the two kind of interchangeable? Are they the same thing?
I think this is mainly for businesses and agricultural.
So do they have to meet a certain criteria to kind of be eligible for this government tax, or are there scenarios where they wouldn't have to pay any tax at all?
So say a family member dies who's got the business.
Right.
Their son the dad or mum gives the business to the son or daughter. They will have to pay an interest rate to the government.
Yeah.
So they can get some money off the assets that you have given over.
So it's with any inheritance, it's not just a business kind of related inheritance.
No, so inheritance tax is given. You have to pay inheritance tax if you're with families as well.
Yeah, so anything. That's quite good.
With anybody.
Well, it's not good because you have to
in
pay
the
tax.
UK.
I understand what you mean.
Yeah. So why we're going over this today is, it's a good question. Why are we going over this today? Last Tuesday, I don't know when this will come out. Tuesday the 19th of November 2024.
Mm-hmm.
Farmers went to Westminster and had a big protest. They shut down the whole of Westminster.
So were
the
they
whole of Horse Guards Parade.
So were they protesting because of the inheritance tax?
Yes. What they're changing on inheritance tax.
So is it going up or down then? Because you made it sound like because the threshold's going up to a million, was it? That surely that means that people will pay less inheritance tax. But is that not the case?
Um, we're gonna be getting a bit more into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there will be a table. Hopefully, we'll put the table now, so you'll be able to see the table that the government has provided, put on the website, of what thresholds, what tax you have to pay for certain things.
Okay. So is what the government's changing bad then, in some way? If the farmers are protesting, then they're obviously displeased about it. I
Yeah,
mean,
because some farmers, because they don't get much money,
yeah,
they won't be able to survive
right, because of this inheritance tax
because of
bracket.
this inheritance tax, and they're then paying a bit more.
So
Well, a bit less.
because the threshold used to be lower, they didn't have to pay inheritance tax before, but they do now. Is that what's happening?
Yeah. So they kind of got a bit away. But they also got some subsidies, but the government have removed the subsidies. So
Right,
saying
okay.
if fencing or hedging is destroyed, the government will pay for it. Some other subsidies like that, which farmers are not getting at the moment. So if you go onto YouTube, you'll see loads of videos from the protest and farmers getting quite cross. I was watching this morning's breakfast news, and there was a farmer and MP on there, and they were going at each other. The MP was trying to say certain information. The farmer, they were like kind of clashing.
Yeah, right.
So
they're upset because they have to pay more money because of this bracket going
yeah.
up, which means they have to pay tax now.
And then the ordinary farmer farms will be probably having to sell part of their land.
Yeah, struggling.
Because they're struggling to pay.
Yeah, it's not very good, really, is it?
Food, fuel, all the things that you would normally need to keep going.
Yeah, and some of those things would normally be subsidised, but now they're removing the subsidies as well.
Yeah.
On top of this tax bracket increase. That's interesting. So essentially all the farmers are going to struggle now, which isn't great.
No, so we're going to see.
It's definitely an important topic to cover.
Where I live, there's 3 or 4 farmers, and probably some of them are going to struggle in the coming years.
It's a shame, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
The government can't do more to support farmers.
No.
And businesses in general, if it applies to everyone outside of farming as well, but specifically farmers the most, I think, is what you're saying.
Yes.
They'll be most affected by it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Treasuries have set out that full explanation of transactions between spouse and civil partners will continue to apply. There is also nil rate brackets for inheritance tax, which people would retain access on top of the £1 million. A nil rate bracket is an amount of assets that can be passed on free of interest rate.
So is this above the £1 million bracket, or is it everything below it still? Or is it only that when it applies to families that it can go over the bracket, is what you're saying?
It's how much estate can be passed on free of interest rate. So how many houses or land can be passed on.
And that's been increased, you're saying? Or is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I think so.
Because of this bracket going up.
Yeah. The tax-free allows residentials is £1 175,000 per person.
So,
Each person
it goes
also
up if
has,
there's more people.
yeah, each person also has a 325,000 tax-free allowance that can be applied to all types of assets. So
Mhm.
you have a £175,000 tax-free allowance for homes
Yep.
and a £325,000 allowance for assets, all sorts of assets.
Okay. So the estate kind of house budget is be £175,000 before it gets taxed, and then
Yeah.
everything else like possessions and stuff is 325. Is what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
That's good.
So the table that you'll be shown includes illustrations, examples from trustee figures of different values which could be inherited before paying interest tax.
Mhm.
This figures indicates that in some circumstances 2 people with farmland could pass up to 3 million without paying interest rate. I'm just going to pull the table up because I do not have that on me.
Okay.
So, farm owners owned by 2 people who it can be passed down to, child or grandchild. 2 times standard tax-free allowance. 2 times 1 million tax-free allowance for agricultural purposes.
Yeah.
So then that will take it, the value passed on free would be 3 million. Farm passed on, owned by 2 people, passed on to anybody that isn't a direct person like grandchild or child. Their value passed on is free of interest is 2.65 million. Farmland owned by 1 person passed down to child or grandchild will be the value will be 1.5 million.
Right. So it reduces if there's fewer people giving it.
So if there's fewer people owning it, it goes down.
Yeah.
And
So that
if it's owned by 1 person, also given to, not, say Ewan would give it to me. I'm not a child of his. It would be, I'm a friend, so it would be 1.325 million.
right, and this is all on the table.
This is all in the table that you can see on the video.
Okay. I think this has been very informative. Will, have you got anything else to say about it, or?
Nope.
Okay. So do you want to wrap up?
So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for listening. This isn't how we normally record them.
Yeah, the audio might be a bit funny, and I think Will's a bit quiet today because we're recording using.
Yes.
We're not in person today, but if you'd like to hear more,
because my computer's had some problems.
Many computer problems have been had.
And we're trying to get more videos out for you lot, but we are working, and we have got other commitments on, so we're trying to get it done, but we can't always promise you a video on time.
Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoy our content, and we'll see you in the next one. if you come back.
Yes, we've got some good ideas popped up recently. One on US presidents.
Oh yeah.
which will be really interesting. If you want to see that, drop a like, drop a follow. We'll post that soon. We'll post that soon.
Okay. Thanks for
Thank
watching.
you, Ewan.
Oh, you're quite welcome, Will.
Recording this.
That is all right. I will see. All right. See you guys.
Bye.